Hello, everyone. Welcome to this third pitch session of this morning. I'm so glad to be with you today. This third session, as you know, is going to be about the circular economy. So, how can we? Somebody had mic off, please. Everybody. So, please, how can we save our resources and reduce our consumption of non-renewable goods? How can we consume differently and have a positive impact on the planet? Well, you'll know because we have three amazing startups. They'll pitch. They have 3 minutes to pitch today. Then they're going to have a Q&A session, 10 minutes of challenge and hard questioning by our amazing jury. But before we start and before we spend this 35 minutes together, I'm glad to introduce Pierre Deron. Pierre, you are going to be our speaker. You're going to introduce this session with me. You are the executive director of Cleantech Open France, the largest ecosystem in cleantech for startup. Previously, you co-founded a startup in the cleantech sector called XR2, I think. So, Pierre, how would you like to introduce this session for me? What is the circular economy for you?
Thank you, everybody. I'm very pleased to make this introduction on circular economy and specifically on the circular economy. Cleantech Open France is an association, but more than this, we are an ecosystem that promotes, highlights, and accelerates clean tech, green tech solution to participate and accelerate the sustainability transition. In our activities, we are making an annual contest with basically 150 candidates each year. And in the 9 clean tech sectors, we have one that is circular economy. And it's always the #1 sector in which we have the most important numbers of candidates. And the reason for this is obvious. It's because it's probably the most central, transversal, and at the heart of sustainability. It is inspiring, it is documented, and most of all, it brings numerous benefits. I will come back to this. It is inspiring because waste doesn't exist in the nature. Human activity created waste, and working on this is very, I would say, inspiring, and we are speaking there with a lot of biomimetics approach, and it's really the paradigm change that is needed with a very positive approach, and this is important to make the sustainability change. Circular economy is also documented because we're speaking of circular economy since the 60s, basically. We have the circular economy diagrams with the 3 domains and the 7 pillars. We have the 3, 4R for the process of reduce, repair, reuse, and the recycle. And we have the very important and interesting work that has been made by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and the famous butterfly diagram, as we call it. We also have in France the first employment statistics on the circular economy. In 2013, it was estimated by the Ministry of Ecological Transition that circular economy brings 1 million full-time equivalent, 50% direct, 50% indirect. So, and that was 2013. And most important in bring 4 main benefits circular economy. Of course, environmental benefits, carbon dioxide emission reduction, primary material consumption reduction, land productivity and soil health, and of course positive impact on biodiversity. But it brings also economic benefits, and we all remember the old opposition that was made between economic growth and sustainability. So we all know now that the economic growth of tomorrow will be sustainable growth, and in economic benefits. First of all is innovation, and we are here in one of the famous place of the innovation in ChangeNOW, and this innovation, the job creation, create economic growth. So there is no more opposition, and then it creates also profit opportunities. It reduces volatility of supplies, and we all have currently we see and we follow the raw material volatility, and that is something that can be really modified and upgrade. That also creates new business demands, and for this we are also in the place where we have a lot of people that are speaking of new business services. And then at the end, it also brings benefits for individuals, increase disposable income, because reduced obsolescence of products, for example, and a greater utility in the social and society sense. So in conclusion, for those 5 minutes introduction, the circular economy is key to achieve carbon reduction and carbon neutral objectives, and it civilize and process the shift from the take, make, waste linear model to a regenerative, circular, and positive economy. And positive is a very important word. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Pierre. Thank you. You'll be part of our jury today. We have an impressive jury. You are 5 within this jury. So the first member I'd like to introduce is Nicolas Shaw. Nicolas, can you present yourself very quickly? Who are you?
Hi, everyone. My name is Nick Chow. I am leading plug-and-play sustainability investments for Europe.
Cool. Wow. That was really short and impactful. Thank you. Okay. Thierry Leboeuf. Thierry, how are you? We don't hear you. Your mic is off.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Thierry?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So I started out in life as an aeronautical engineer, and then after an MBA at INSEAD, I worked for Alstom doing projects and tenders. And so after a while, I became a business angel with the INSEAD Business Angel Club, and I have invested in about 6 startups. A couple of which in circular economy.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Challenging for you startups. Okay, Adriana Freitas. Adriana, how are you?
Hi, great to be here, and thank you for the invitation. And we're going to have a great session, Jeremy. So I'm Adriana. I'm based in Barcelona. I'm the GP for Deep Green VC. We are a pre-seed impact fund out of Barcelona, and we invest in companies that are solving the critical problems. Sustainability is one of them. We have a collection of experts for that. We target, Europe with a focus on Portugal and Spain because it's pre-seed. You need to be close to the startups, but we are here to, help everyone that truly investing on this sector of sustainability.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, and then Sophie Bidwell. Hi, Sophie. Nice to meet you. How are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm very well, thank you. Very nice to meet you. So I'm Sophie. I am French in spite of my English-sounding name. And I am an investor by background, but a purpose-led entrepreneur at heart. So I spent the last 22 years in the UK, 10 of which in financial institutions, Goldman Sachs and various private equity funds. And then the last 12 years running my own businesses. And my current 2 businesses are Springwise and Reset. And they are both B Corps. Springwise is a global innovation spotting engine. And Reset is a next generation management consultancy focusing on sustainability and innovation. And I also I'm a private investor as well in startups.
Okay, so we have a very Very good jury for this session, investors and entrepreneurs, MBAs. So startup, you know what you have to do. You need to convince these five members of jury maybe to invest in you. Who knows? Okay, so the first startup for today is going to be Congular. And so I'm glad to welcome on board Dominic Campanella. Dominic, how are you?
Thanks, I'm fine.
We don't hear you. We have a big echo.
So is it better like that?
So much better, Dominic.
Okay,
so
yeah.
you have 3 minutes to pitch.
Okay, thanks. Just waiting for the slides, right? Okay, perfect. Yeah. So thank you a lot. My name is Dominic Campanella, and I'm one of the co-founders of Congular, and we are the digital ecosystem for the circular built environment. Why do we need actually that? Because actually the construction sector is the largest polluter in the world. So 60% of all waste and 40% of all GHG emissions are directly related to that sector. And what in my opinion is really striking is that half of the emissions are actually emitted before a building is even finished. And the reason for that is the so-called take, make, waste model of construction materials. So we take resources out of our earth, we create materials with that, we put them into our buildings, and in the end of the lifetime of the building, and not the material, all the materials are getting landfilled. And also a lot of them can be actually reused, but instead, on this place, a new building with new materials is built. And that leads to a reuse rate of construction materials of only 1% right now. And we want to change that. We want to reach a one-to-one substitution of construction materials. So if you plan a new building, you should have the choice of either using a new material or a reclaimed material in the same quality and same price, but with that you can save CO2, waste and resources. And this is what we want to reach with Congular, which we say is a digital ecosystem for the circular construction. And we make reuse of materials easy, profitable and measurable. So basically it's a software where you first can digitize the materials in a building, and because in existing building you just don't know what materials are inside, and then when the deconstruction is planned you can already say that these materials are getting free, and we match these materials then with the demand for it in new construction projects, and also take care about all the operation needed, so from the deconstruction to the storage and so on, to in the end get the material to the new construction site, and in the end also measure how much CO2 and waste is saved with that. Now, we work with the top architecture offices, project developers, and cities in Germany. As you can see on this project map, all over Germany, projects are executed with our software. And the team is actually consisting of one part of digital experts with Yus and myself, and construction expertise with Mark, who has more than 30 years of experience in the construction sector, and Professor Linda Hildebrand, a renowned researcher in the circular construction topic in Europe. And of course, we're also getting complemented by a great and motivated team from engineers to architects and sales. And we're already able to achieve some successful awards. And with that, I hope that we can together close the loop in the construction sector. And thanks for the opportunity.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Dominic. A pitch in 3 minutes. Exactly. Wow, I love that. How efficient. Thank you. Thanks a lot. We'll be able to ask you some questions toward the end. You know, the Q&A arrives after the 3 startups have pitched. So it's my pleasure to welcome on stage the second startup for this session, which is Scale. Eric Delorosen, are you here? We don't hear you, Eric. Yeah, yep. Eric Delorens.
Are you here?
Yeah, cool. So, you know, you have 3 minutes to pitch your startup.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, so my name is Eric Delorens, and I'm one of the co-founder of Scale, a company we started to invent and produce a new generation of materials that are ocean friendly, which is to say that are bio-based, biodegradable, which means they will biodegrade in nature rapidly, so almost compostable, and then obviously recyclable. Our first, and we're doing this by adding value to a resource that we've identified, which is the byproducts of the fishing industry. And we've identified fish scales as our first resource. You should know that we basically consume on 40% of what we catch or farm in terms of fish. And fish scales represent on its own roughly 45,000 tons in Europe on salmon and sardines alone, and that's about 1 million tons per year in the world. So there is a huge resource there that still needs to be tapped into, and this is what we're doing, and we're using that to create the first material ever produced with fish scales, with 100% fish scales. It is a material that we named Scalite because obviously light means it comes from Greek, which means stone. So it's effectively like a stone-like material, 100% made from fish scales, which tackles a few of the environmental aspect of the Paris Agreement. And with this, this material has a few advantages. It's obviously, as I said, biodegradable, recyclable, but it's also non-flammable, which means it fits perfectly in the environment it's meant to be, which is, sorry, I'm going to skip through that because this is a part of the process. And the projects that we're aiming, is our interior design projects, wall cladding, furniture, and we're about to deliver our first projects in June. So, yeah, voila. This is our material, and I've got 2 seconds.
You can use 5 to 10 more seconds if you want. Don't worry. A lot of.
All right. Okay. Let's just then add a few words on the process, just because it's a very simple and low energy process, which is again another benefit. And we get our fish scales from Brittany and Normandy in France, and we're drying them and turning them into a powder, which we compress into the sheets, and the ratio is basically 15 meters for 1 ton of raw material, and it still needs to be clarified, but basically we think that the first results show that we're using about 10 times less CO2 than cement, which is a good start, I suppose. And voila, that's it.
Thanks a lot, Eric. Thank you, bravo, woohoo! I'm glad you stopped at 3 minutes exactly. I was like, okay, thank you. I'm not done, but I'm stopping, and that's good. Thank you for that. That's why you are allowed some few more seconds. Okay, great. So we have a last startup for this session today. So it's VTL GmbH, and I'm glad to call on stage Fleck Karin. Fleck, how are you?
Hi, nice to meet you. Let's see if I can do this. If I can click. Oh, yes, super. Yes, my name is Karin Fleck, and I'm the founder of the Vienna Textile Lab. And the thing is that the textile industry has quite some severe problems. And it not only started with the Dirty Laundry report from Greenpeace, but also with Rana Plaza. So ethical and sustainable fashion is a very important thing. And especially one of the things that is most concerning about the industry is the dyeing process. And with that, what we believe is we want to change that. And basically what we do is we manufacture new type of dyes and pigments, and they come from nature. So you might think, yeah, okay, there are plant-based and animal-based dyes, but we actually take microorganisms that come from nature. We bring them to the laboratory and see what kind of colors they can manufacture and make a pigment or a dye out of it and sell it to the textile industry. And what does this include? So basically the technology that is included there is bio-based manufacturing. So actually the way you make a molecule is different. You don't start from crude oil products, but you use actually biology to create these molecules. You need to know a lot about textile chemistry, and you need to be aware that the industry is changing as well. So what do we produce and how do we do that? So basically what we're doing right now, we're cooperating with designers, with industrial clients to develop what type of dyes do they need, because it's different if you develop a dye for a silk or if you do that for cotton. We do also, in the future, we'll make our own yarns and fabrics, and eventually we'll produce our own pure pigments and dyes. So the market is big, and of course, most of it is driven by Asia. But also what is really interesting is the supply chains in the textile industry are very diverse. So the people that we talk with, or our future clients, are basically dye manufacturers, fiber, yarn, and textile mills, but also integrated fashion companies and chemical companies. So, and this is like how it looks like. So we have dyed a few, I don't know where my presentation, there it is. So my presentation is here. So we've dyed a few of these. This is our swatches. So you can see the colors that we can cover. This is a 2019 selection. And also like how does that work? So bio-based value chains are super important because first of all, either you replace a molecule that's maybe harmful for the environment, but also you manufacture it differently, and that makes a big difference. We also have to really improve the end product, not only the dye, but also the end product. So for instance, if you have a wool jumper and it's dyed with synthetic dyes, it's different if you dye it with microbial dyes. And then what we also have is like, this is going too fast. See, I'm not as fast as everybody else. So this is, for instance, what we do with our clients. We do small collections. We take in designers. We try to understand what they're looking for in the future, and what is sustainability for the textile industry. So thank you, and sorry for overdoing the time.
No problem, Karen. Thank you. Congrats to you. So we're gonna move to the questions. Dear jury members, do you have a question for our startup today? Yes, Adriana.
I can start. No, my question go for the first one. So for a concolor is basically I saw they have like covered mainly like the cities in Germany. Are they going abroad? Are they looking into going to other markets or I do ask this because I'm like in Spain and it would be great to see something around here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Adriana, for the question. Yeah, so this is basically a problem which exists in every country, right? So how can we use construction materials? And with the EU legislation, the Circular Economy Action Plan, that will also give like the legislative framework. So yes, we are thinking of expansion in other European countries, and we are already talking with cities in other countries to make that happen. Yeah. So definitely a case to expand in whole of Europe.
Okay. What about Spain? When is Spain and Portugal?
Yeah, so we're already talking with cities there. Yeah, this is what I can say.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay. Who's next? Yes, Thierry. We don't hear you. You have to open your mic.
Yeah, who are your customers? Are they construction companies or local municipalities, for example?
Yeah, so all actors of the construction industry, but yeah, also local municipalities, because they have the climate, so they committed very often to like climate neutrality until 2030, and the construction sector plays a huge role. So they can support all these operations, but in the end it's like, and they also have a lot of buildings which they demolish, so we can work with them. But in the end, it's also architecture offices, project developers, whom we work a lot, and then also, of course, the construction companies and like other actors of the construction sector.
Okay, thank you.
And do you already have revenues?
So, sorry, Thierry, we don't have time to go into detail within the Q&A. You'll have some networking just afterward to, go more in depth. Thank you. Okay, Sophie, you had a question.
Yes, I have a question also, but also for Dominic, just to then we'll move to another one. In terms of your business model and the balance between the service and the products, how do you plan to manage that?
Yeah, good question. So I guess you're saying like, okay, how scalable is this model? Because you first have to digitalize the materials. So we created a methodology with whom you can go into these buildings and create this digital material inventory, which can be executed independently from us. So, but there must be people going into these buildings. But if there's a deconstruction happening there anyway, people like measuring the building and so on, and they can also do the service. So, and we are providing then a software which is then scalable.
Okay, cool. Sophie, I think you had a question.
Can I move to another company, or are we asking all the questions?
Please, because we want all the companies to have questions.
Great. So I've got a question for Eric and Scale, which is, it might be a controversial question, but you are relying on a raw material, which is fish scale, which is very abundant. But it seems to me that there is a global trend against, fishing in general and, eating fish, and, documents like Seaspiracy are helping this. Are you worried about that?
Well, I mean, obviously what we want to avoid is to put pressure on a resource that's fragile. So we have taken the action. Well, we're only sourcing MSC scales, which means they're responsibly managed resource. But then again, there is fish scales and 60% of what we catch today. This is a real thing. Like today, there is 60% of what we fish that goes to waste. So I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Perhaps it's going to, hope, and I do hope that we'll find a better protein to feed the world. But actually, right now the fishing industry is still growing, and the aquaculture is also still growing. So it seems like it's going that way, and so what we want is for it to happen in the best possible conditions and to make it the most sustainable possible. And the way forward for me is to value these to value every bit of what we catch in the best possible way. So
okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Maybe we have a question for Karine. Yes, Adriana, tell us.
Karine, amazing technology you're producing, and I think this move to being more natural on pigments is a big push. My only worry is that you go to the market activities and why you're not going to big companies and selling more like a patent process. Or do you think they are not ready to get so much technology involved, or because I understand you're going through more branding, more marketing focus in your approach to be seen out there with the models and in competition, but how far you are from getting this into I don't know, a big brand and become the next Lycra, DuPont or someone like that.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a vision reality thing. So when you start with the technology, especially in biotech or in chemistry, it just takes time to develop. And so normally, for instance, to develop pharmaceuticals, it takes 10 plus years. So you have to think, okay, how can you reach as an entrepreneur earlier the market? Because what I didn't expect was to be able at all to interact with end consumers or clients at this stage. So I think, yes, it's true, like we should be licensing out the technology eventually, and that's probably the stage 4. But there is also the scaling steps in between, like what it is like when you reach the economy of scale that you know you can really compete with existing technology. I could answer this question.
No, thank you. But my raw question was like, you know, what is your vision on exit? No, so your exit normally, you know, as a company, we can only be, you know, IPO, or you're gonna be by like a merger and acquisition.
Yeah, so definitely.
That is like and even in pharma, you know, unfortunately, you cannot use that example anymore because we get a vaccine in 1 year.
Yeah.
So what we need is like the push for big companies to get like, you know, on board earlier. And there is like a bunch of accelerators and great companies joining. And depending on the country you are, you can even put some like legal push. But for sure, textile will be the last one coming on board, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, we are thinking mostly of companies that are specialized on dye manufacturing or pigment film manufacturing. And those are the ones that we hope that we will have to exit with. It's not the textile industry as it is now. We know that. It is really like the original chemical companies that are already changing also their own portfolio and become more sustainable.
Okay, thanks a lot, Karen. I see you guys want to continue talking, and that's great. You know what? Because you are going to be able to do so. You are virtual rooms. They're open for networking exactly for that kind of purpose, to go more in depth, to ask more questions. Thanks a lot, dear jury. It was a pleasure to be with you this morning. Thanks a lot, startups. The pitch were amazing. I was really glad to be your moderator on this circular economy pitch session. I wish you an amazing day, and go to the virtual rooms to continue the conversation. Bye-bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.